siku hiyo ANC itatoa msimamo ambao utakuwa kama mtetemeko wa ardhi wa kisiasa katika taifa letu. Kuanzia saa 6 hivi, mutafute namna haraka, muende kwa runinga, kwa sababu siku hiyo tutakuwa na msisimuko wa ardhi kwa mambo ya kisiasa kwa taifa la Kenya.
All right, so there we have it. Linus, an earthquake. A very, I mean, of course, people have been talking about it for the last couple of days, but at the end of the day, let's say it for what it is. There is an NDC coming up, the National Delegates Conference for the Amani National Congress on the 23rd, that's on Sunday. And according to the leader of that party, says he's going to make a consequential decision and an announcement, because that ought to be interesting, because look, there's been such anticipation around what's happening over there in Oka. But I'm not asking you to be a prophet here, but what could it be?
Ordinarily, Joe, an earthquake is followed by a series of seismic activities.
Sometimes a tsunami.
So there has to be a build-up of sorts towards the earthquake. And I was looking at the face of Senator Sakaja, who was standing right next to Honorable Mudavadi when he made the announcement. And it wasn't convincing. But anyway, it's going to be a big event for the Amani National Congress. Big in the sense that you asked me not to predict, but I'll try to. I think Musalia Mudavadi will be announcing that he'll run for president in 2022, and that is in a few months' time. I don't know how much that will generate on the Richter scale.
Francis, is that the only option he has? Is that the only option that would be earth-shaking, assuming that one is?
Well, for hype, I would give Musalia the props for using terms that would attract attention, that there will be an earthquake, even inviting us to be near our TVs on Sunday at noon to witness that earthquake happening. I don't think it will go past saying, I will go all the way to the ballot. That is option one. That is at the apex of that earthquake. Midway would be that I would partner with, let's say, either of the current candidates. But I would think fundamentally it would be to say that he's vying and he's running all the way to the ballot. He has done it previously. It will be his second attempt at the presidency if he declares that he will go all the way to the ballot. The question will be, will he go all the way to the ballot? Because it is one thing to say you will go all the way to the ballot. It is a different ballgame to actually do it.
Well, he's done it before.
Yeah, he has done it. Yeah, go all the way to the ballot. And not just go all the way to the ballot, but go there and have a heavy impact. A heavy impact in the sense that either you can win or you can trigger a runoff after the August 9th presidential race. Those would be the consequences of such a candidature if it was to be taken very seriously. But more importantly, Joe, is the question of Oka. Where would that leave Oka if Musalia would insist that he is in the race to the very end? Kalonzo Musyoka has said so.
And we can listen to him saying so. I think we have a soundbite of Kalonzo Musyoka saying he's not stopping anywhere.
I'm running for president, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Kenyans, because I have seen what fear and hatred and mismanagement and killings can bring to a nation.
Interesting. So I was saying, Joe, that would have to raise questions on what is the state of Oka. Or would Oka have died so soon after the death of NASA? Because Oka was a creation out of the frustrations in NASA. So if Oka wouldn't go all the way to the ballot and better what NASA did, then even the exit from NASA would not have made any political sense, as it were. What if, and this is where I say, what if Musalia Mudavadi announces a new coalition on Sunday and says he will go all the way to the ballot? It's a possibility, a huge one. We've seen him try to court Mount Kenya Unity Forum. So what if he announces a new coalition away from One Kenya Alliance? It's a possibility. So all those constitute what would be called an earthquake. But I would think fundamentally is to try and trigger a runoff.
But you see, Francis, I mean, from where I sit, I think you have to understand that Musalia Mudavadi is not in a comfortable place, so to speak, politically. I mean, he has very, very stark choices here. Because, look, Oka was supposed to be this new machine because they jumped out of, they basically triggered the dissolution of NASA and then jumped out and linked up with KANU and said that now they had a new vehicle that they were going to use to basically run for the election. I mean, there was an attempt by President Kenyatta to woo them. There were several meetings in Mombasa and different places. But at the end of the day, it was very clear that they were not buying that story, at least at that point. And then now you have a situation where, on the one hand, if he chooses to run, he has to demonstrate to his supporters that he will do something better than what he did in 2013. Because already, if you were to talk about the backyard, where most politicians usually start, there's already quite some activity going on there. You have people like Oparanya, for example, who have essentially been set up, as it were, by the Azimio people as their points person there. And those who know that place say, well, he's not a lightweight by any definition. So therefore he has to contend with that. And then there is the past record that when he last contested for the presidential election, it didn't fare particularly well. So he has to demonstrate to his supporters what is it that has changed between 2013 and now that will make him a more viable presidential candidate this time around. Then there is also the question of what if he decided to partner with, say, Azimio? What is he going to do there? Many people believe that Azimio, Raila Odinga would have to get a running mate, for example, from the Mount Kenya region. That is the conventional wisdom. Whether he do that is a different story, but it is largely expected that that is what he will do. So that means, therefore, if Musalia Mudavadi were to go there, then he will be just one of the fellow travelers. There isn't any indication that he will get anything significant. If he were to partner with the DP, there are two problems. First of all, the DP himself has said publicly that he is not interested in coalitions with parties he calls small ethnic parties. He says UDA is the national party and is basically whipping up everybody to jump onto this vehicle that is saying is the national party that he would like to run on and to build. And therefore, if Musalia Mudavadi were to partner with William Ruto, two things have to happen. First of all, William Ruto has to swallow those words and say, okay, it's now fine, I will do a coalition with somebody. Or Musalia has to basically dissolve or leave ANC and join UDA, which is highly unlikely. And then the last layer to this is this, that just like Azimio, William Ruto also appears to be completely locked in terms of a running mate to the Mount Kenya region. The moment he doesn't get one from there, then the arithmetic and the whole calculus becomes that much more complicated. So there's a sense in which Musalia Mudavadi is damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. And so whatever he announces on Sunday will be extremely intriguing, but we have to say that at this particular time, you really don't want to be Musalia Mudavadi. And add to the fact that the hope of being the candidate of Oka has virtually been dashed, not least by that statement from Kalonzo Musyoka that we just saw a few moments ago. So, Linus, Musalia Mudavadi, if you look across all the elections, what is looking different right now, if any?
Little is looking different. What is looking the same is a pre-coalition ritual that we have seen since 2002, where before politicians agree to work together, they all tend to first declare themselves presidential aspirants and even presidential aspirants from their parties. Musalia Mudavadi will on Sunday complete the Oka 4. Remember, it started with Gideon Moi, who was cleared by KANU to run for president. Then Moses Wetangula has done that as well. He's been cleared by Ford Kenya to run for president. Kalonzo Musyoka has been given the okay by Wiper to run for president. And now, on Sunday, Musalia Mudavadi will be completing the ritual, basically, of also declaring his candidature for presidency. If you look way back to 2002, Joe, and you would remember that in Kasarani, and several candidates did emerge, some of them not very convincing. I still remember Noah Katanangala saying that uraisi tu.
Kuongoza tu. Itaongoza. So, and just that way he became sort of an aspirant as well in KANU. When you look at 2007, the team that revolved around Raila Odinga was made up of people who actually wanted to run for president, and they constituted themselves under the name the Pentagon. I should not forget that in 2002, the name for that grouping was the Summit. Francis, I don't know whether you would remember that.
Yeah.
In 2002, there was Mudi Awori, Charity Ngilu, there was Michael Amalwa, Mwai Kibaki, and Raila Odinga, and Kipruto Arap Kirwa. All these were presidential aspirants. In 07, Raila Odinga had that team as well, calling itself the Pentagon, all of it made up of presidential aspirants. Yeah, they all wanted to run. And they actually had a bit of a primary during that Kasarani meeting. I like how you're calling it a bit of a primary. Those days. And actually, I think the only party primary that we've seen. Yes, they had something there. In the last 20 years. Yeah, and they actually had, it was quite very well choreographed. Very well choreographed here. It actually looked almost competitive. Mm-hmm. And that was in Kasarani. And the losers gave some rather interesting speeches at the end. I still remember actually William Ruto's speech at the time when he was quoting, I think it was Madison, if I'm not mistaken, that he who wants to conduct an orchestra must turn his back to the crowd. Yes, yes. That's very true. So I see this as just part of a ritual. There's something else that we can say about our politics. Decision-making on who becomes a horse out of the many donkeys that will express interest in running for president comes quite late. Remember, the election in 2002 did not shape until the 14th of October 2002, when Mwai Kibaki was declared Tosha by Raila Odinga at Uhuru Park. And the same day also Uhuru Kenyatta was nominated by KANU in Kasarani. So it's about 6+ months to go to the election. So by Kenyan timing and calendar, it's still early. Early days. It's early days, which is why you'll see an earthquake on Sunday. There'll be a tremor the week after that. There'll be a lot of these activities by presidential aspirants who actually in the back of their minds do know they will work or they'll have to work together at some point, whether with the William Ruto camp or Raila Odinga Azimio camp.
Let me take it right from where LK has stopped. And go one step further and say, declaring that you're running for the presidency is the easy part. Successfully doing it and having an impact is another. What do I mean by that? I mean, our constitution has told us how a president will be elected in this country. Garner 50% plus 1 vote of the total votes cast in the presidential race, get at least 25% in 24 counties. 2013 presidential race, Musalia Mudavadi, who was partnered by Jeremiah Kioni as his running mate, had 483,981 votes. Uhuru Ruto, or what we used to call the Uhuruto team, had 6.1 million votes. Raila and Kalonzo had 5.3 million votes. when Musalia teamed up with Raila and Kalonzo under NASA in 2017, the NASA team got 6.8 million votes, and the Ruto team got 8.2 million votes, though those results were nullified by the Supreme Court. So it would be for Musalia to better what he did in 2013 and also extract his contribution to NASA and the presidential candidature of Raila Odinga in 2017 if he was to make a proper stab at the presidency in August this year. Can he? That is the key question.
But let's talk a little bit about Kalonzo Musyoka, because he is also in Oka. At least they have told us they are still in Oka. And just as we saw, he is declared he's also running. What are his options here, Linus, and why would he want to run? We know that he actually ran in 2007. He didn't fare that well. He was number 3. I think he had 8% of the vote, if I'm not mistaken. But he's saying that this time around, he's not stopping anywhere except kwa ballot. Watu wakutane kwa debe.
Well, again, I think raising the stakes, and that is the game, especially in the early part of the year. All the politicians, all the key presidential aspirants are very aware of the very exacting constitutional requirement that a winner must get 50+1 of the total vote. And they must also get 25% in at least 24 counties across the country. And these are the two things that have actually pushed our country into this coalition craze, a money national coalition. It's called Oka coalition. We have all these coalitions because these provisions came to play since the passage of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. They all know it's futile. It's not the same as it was in the 90s, say in the 1992, 1997 election, 2002, where you can actually go try your luck as a candidate because it was first past the post. It doesn't matter whether you're winning an election with 36% of the vote like President Moi did at some point. This strict requirements is now forcing politicians to work together. I know Francis earlier on said that what they would want to do is to force a runoff. But to what end? The runoff would normally benefit the runners-up, not the third or fourth, because the runners-up can actually strike a deal with the third or fourth. And I don't know whether there's any value in candidates trying to go into the race so that you force a runoff, because
so someone talks to you and then probably you might end up in government.
Yes. So what I see happening is a lot of the candidates will, or rather aspirants, let's call them aspirants correctly, would rather have that conversation this side of the election.
But Francis, there's also something I've heard people say, and I know you cover all these politicians rather frequently, that some people want to run to, or let's put it this way, so that some people around these candidates basically push them to run for their own benefits. You know, the people who want to run for Senate, for, you know, governor, whatnot. So that, because the moment, at least in other elections it has been like that, I don't know if it will be like that this time around, that if, say, Kalonzo Musyoka is running and he creates sufficient excitement, say, in Ukambani, then it will be easier for you if you're running on a wiper ticket, say, somewhere in Makueni or in Kitui or somewhere in Machakos, whatever, that you actually don't need to work that hard because you'll have a party that is the right party in that part of the country. And therefore, for these people, they really don't care whether you get that presidency or not, but the mere fact that you're running for presidency might create the kind of momentum they need to basically override their opponents, because they know they are loyal party members and that sort of thing. And therefore, if Wiper becomes the party of choice, then it will become easier for them to basically win, because it's easier for them to get the party ticket. Is this something that you're hearing more of, and could it be something that's pushing these people to run either way?
It is one of the factors at play. Look, listen to some of the political leaders, politicians around these presidential aspirants, and you hear them urging them on, usikubali kudanganywa, don't look back. If you do, utakuwa kama Lord's wife or something like that. So they keep pressuring them, because they know if the presidential aspirants create a euphoria from their strongholds, it betters their chances of winning either parliamentary, gubernatorial, or county assembly seats. So that is one of the key factors. Number two, the dilemma that these presidential aspirants are in. Because on one hand, it will not be possible for them to campaign on their own. They require these foot soldiers around them to campaign for them. So they have to listen to them on one hand, but at the same time also to guide the conversation. But number three, any coalitions that will be built, you will see discussions around, let's zone, don't field candidates in this area, this is our stronghold, leave this region to us, have candidates elsewhere. Because at the end of the day, these presidential aspirants are also eyeing, other than the presidency, they're also eyeing county assembly seats, they're also eyeing positions in the Council of Governors, they're also eyeing positions in the 2 chambers of parliament. So create a euphoria, say you're running for president, so that at the end of the day, even if you don't make it to the presidency, you will still have a number of MPs. I mean, you've seen scenarios where, for example, when the president has called for certain meetings, even leaders with 5 MPs have been called to such meetings. So this is also an opportunity for the presidential aspirants to create some euphoria in their areas where they perceive to be their strongholds, so that they also have parliamentary seats. At the end of the day, if need be, and such meetings are called, like we keep seeing party leaders meeting, or political leaders meeting, even you with 5 MPs, even you with 10 MPs, you will be part of that meeting. So I look at it threefold: the pressure from the political leaders around them, the pressure to have parliamentary seats and governor seats at the end of the day, and thirdly, any coalition that will be built after the election, that they be part of that table.
Linus, one final question on this Oka story. Why are we all talking about Oka as if it only has Musalia Mudavadi and Kalonzo Musyoka? Where is Gideon Moi? Where is Moses Wetangula in this whole conversation?
And Jirongo too.
Oka.
Oh, I even forgot Jirongo.
Oh, there was Jirongo. And there is Malala. Senator Malala as well.
Malala is somewhere between Oka and UDA.
Right. But what has been happening with Oka, the principles, and this is a very interesting, uniquely Kenyan thing, where politicians are called principals. Principals have been making or having their moment in the limelight at different times. Gideon Moi had his day when he had a very colorful launch of his presidential bid in Kanu at the podium in Bomas of Kenya. And then what they do is to do that, and then you disappear and take some time off and wait it out. Because again, I think they are typically aware that this is how it has worked for the last many elections since 2002 till now. Don't pick too early. Wait it out. Let the politics settle. Let the race settle. And then choose where you want to belong. And those are the choices they are going to be making in a short while. I actually project that there will not be as many presidential candidates as there have been aspirants. Even in Oka itself, not all of them will end up in the ballot in August. They'll have to, at some point, make a decision and and be in a sort of a bigger space. But to the point that you were making, and Francis too, about the pressure these leaders also face in their localities, I think we're being too polite, and we should study it this way, as is. Our politics, our political parties are ethnic vehicles as a first design. Because when you look at Wiper, why do minds go to Kambani immediately? You talk of Wiper. When you look at ANC, ANC has really brought or consistently had the face of Western Kenya, because when you see Musalia Mudavadi, you'll either see Malala behind him, and when Malala is not there, then it'll be Sakaja. The problem with our political parties is they are basically ethnic vehicles. Would Ford Kenya be claimed in Transmara, where I come from, by villagers who would say that this is our party? The thing is, the ethnicization of our political parties has not helped matters. That is why when you look at Wiper, then it follows then that there should be an Ukambani leader that will then run for president on a Wiper ticket. If you look at Ford Kenya, there should be a Bukusu leader that then will run for the presidency on a Ford Kenya ticket. Same to ANC, you associated with Kakamega, maybe Maragoliland, where former Vice President Musalia Mudavadi comes from. And I said this as a very, very unfortunate thing. We have very few parties that really resonate right across. And one such party is the good old Kenya African National KANU.
Wow. I think at the end of the day, this Oka story will unfold a little bit more on Sunday. We have to wait and see. Francis, I want to give you the last word on Oka.
Yeah. Once again, what is the true state of Oka? We talk about state of the nation, state of our economy. I think on Sunday, we will also have a good
I heard you before the show saying Oka ha-ha.
Oh,
I don't know, whatever you
the problem with Linas, he can be a Judas. You know, I was just calling him Oka ha Linas, and then he thought I was saying Oka, OKA, haha, you know, something like that.
Oh, that should mean come here.
Yeah, come here.
Maybe they should come here and tell us what's going on in Oka.
But be it as it may, every time we talk about state of the nation, state of the economy, Sunday would be a perfect place to talk about the state of Oka. Because if Kalonzo Musyoka says he's in the race to the end, and Musalia declares that he will be in the race to the end, there's no way One Kenya Alliance will have two presidential candidates. It has to be one, unless one shelves their presidential ambitions. So Sunday could also be a very good indicator of whether Oka will die at its very early stages or at its infancy, if you may like it. And also, the challenge for the two main guys in Oka, Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, as I pointed out earlier, in 2013, when Musalia got 483,000 votes, you also remember in 2007, Kalonzo got 879,000 votes. So, looking at their numbers, and of course the voter register has increased over time. If you compare it to the 2017 situation, 2013, we're looking at a voter register that will have about 24 million registered voters or thereabout. So that's where the proper numbers are. And the impact that each of the presidential candidates will have from their stronghold and nationally, at parliamentary level, at county assembly level, even at gubernatorial level. So interesting kind of a scenario that we find ourselves in, and also how their candidature will affect the candidature of Raila Odinga and the candidature of William Ruto. Because both have been hunting for the One Kenya Alliance principles, to use Linus's words. We've seen the deputy president go to Vihiga, even Musalia's home turf, and asked, you know, I would say conducted a public participation kind of a situation, asking them whether they would like Musalia to work with him or with Raila. So they are looking for them because they know they have some impact, whether significant or insignificant, but they have some impact. We've seen talk of Kalonzo or Gideon likely to, team up with Raila? Although Kalonzo has said no such thing is in the offing. But between now and, let's say, April, quite a number of things are likely to happen. Many of the presidential aspirants who have declared their interest and even endorsed by the national delegates conferences will have to change their mind, either postpone the journey or back any of the horses that are being seen as the main ones.
Yeah, in this country, people say, I would rather die
than resign.
But then they don't die.
But they resign.
Yes. I think it's a good place to slightly just touch on this last topic that we have tonight. We know that many people have said it's a two-horse race, Linus, and there have been quite some barbs back and forth between the Raila Odinga camp and the Ruto William camp, if we were to characterize them as such.
Look, they are not called horses for nothing. Their profile places them there. One is a deputy president, current, serving deputy president. The other one is a former prime minister and three-time runner-up in elections, in the last three elections. And so and then the other thing that has happened is they have been on the ground quite early. They have been campaigning for a very, very long time. I would actually say they never stopped campaigning since the last election. And what that did, of course, is to place them in a certain spot. Mm-hmm. And when you look at also the domination of media headlines, you see when you have an event, you will get coverage. If you have a rally, then there is a rally. If you have a meet the people tour, then that will also reflect in the media headlines. And that is why, and I think media has been under attack, even from Oka saying that, you keep talking of two horse. I don't know about two, but at least we do know that these two are horses, and very experienced at it, both fighting a very determined battle already to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. And the other thing that comes out is how high stakes both have placed this game. They are playing it at a level that is so intense. In December, in November, October last year, you would think we are just days away from elections, and that's because of the kind of intensity that they put into this race. There's something else that Francis and Joe, we ought to accept, and that is the similarity of the politics of Raila Odinga and the politics of William Ruto. Both thrive in working up the crowds. And there is a new addition, in my view, it's a change to how campaigning has been done in this country. And it'll be nice to hear from the Inspector General of the police, because we no longer have rallies in select venues, say in a stadium or open air grounds. What is happening increasingly, and it's becoming a practice, is these politicians, especially these two, William Ruto and Raila Odinga, have perfected the art of blocking traffic and going to where people are already gathered, whether it's a market or just a town street, and they pop out of the vehicles and do their campaigning. It's something really that maybe we could clarify with the IEBC in terms of what happens to motorists that are not really part of this. What happens to business people in the open-air market that really wanted to have their own business? One campaign is supposed to take place in selected places. If you are in Nairobi, you should go to Kamukunji grounds. You should go to Uhuru Park, while Uhuru Park is currently under some other use. If you are in Kibra, you go to Joseph Kang'ethe grounds. What happened to that? What is this culture that is emerging where literally traffic has to stop, a town has to come to a standstill for a politician to campaign for the presidency? And we haven't seen IEBC and we haven't seen the National Police Service saying something about the rights of those who are not really part of this. And there are a lot of people who are not really part of these campaigns.
And to think that the official campaign period is yet...
Has not started yet, yes.
Yeah, definitely. But at the same time, Joe, it would also be important to take note of the format of campaigns that is going on. Whistle stop, if I may call it that way, where you will see a candidate will have, let's say, 5-10 meetings in a day, you know, high energy, high stakes, and the high level mobilization. And it's not by mistake then that even the pollsters are ranking Raila Odinga, William Ruto as the main candidates in the presidential race. Obviously, once in a while you'll hear the demonization of the same opinion pollsters, but I find it interesting that when the numbers seem to favor either side, there's applause. But when they don't seem to favor, there are jeers. But that's the kind of scenarios that we find ourselves in. But to look at it more broadly, I don't think, Linas, we will wait for any official campaign period, because the campaigns are on. What necessarily will happen when that official campaign period comes up will just to, you know, give it the official look, so to say, and say we are now in the official campaign period. But it will not be anything different from what we currently see.
And that's interesting, because it does seem, therefore, that the IEBC is completely powerless, because no one actually, if you were to strictly follow the law, is supposed to campaign before that particular campaign period starts. But that's how it's always been. And I think it probably might be a good place to start ending this show. What does Jamila usually say, Francis?
Take it home. She keeps telling us how we are going to take the show home. Unfortunately, none of us has internalized that art of taking it home. So tutafanya tu hivi kimangoto, bila wanasemanga huko mtaani. Aya, Roba anasema...
And talking of Jamila, I don't know if you've seen a lot of feedback pointing out that this panel today is unconstitutional.
Yeah, and in a week that we've been discussing a lot of constitutional matters, let's just hope that nobody will go back to the court and challenge the constitutionality of the constitution of this show tonight.
Absolutely, and we hope that Jamila and Yvonne will be back next week so that we deal with this constitutional...
We cure it.
Yeah, we cure this constitutional anomaly. Great.